Welcome
Stream is
to
live.
Star Realms Pro Circuit tonight. SRPC tonight. Welcome, Sam.
Hello.
Star Realms IGN Backs. This
I'm the Bax
is
player.
you are the Backs player, All Star player Backs.
Oh God.
This is Rick DeMille, Darklighter. We're going to talk about the Star Realms Pro Circuit. So we've just finished up the first event. There's Elizabeth. Hello, Elizabeth. We've just finished up the first event of the Pro Circuit. How did it go?
I think it was an absolute blast. For me personally, I'm sticking right in the middle. I ran 50% myself, but it seems overall that was a pretty exciting first event to open up the year's season one.
Yeah, I had fun. I was more or less in the middle of the pack as well. The We had a good number of people. We had 135 registered, but one of them was a no-show. So 134, which is a pretty good number for
Which is outstanding. That's so many players.
it is. And we're at
Oh.
100. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but we're at 133 for the next event, which should be starting tomorrow. So it's looking good. It's looking good. So
Yeah.
do me some damage. I don't know what that means, Adam. Cranky Day says, "Do me some damage."
Hmm.
Oh, I think he's talking about his performance. uh,
It was also interesting, like the format. The format was for the first season was very mixed, where you're mixing both base sets and you're missing expansions, both from, like, if we'll call them the core set expansions and the Colony Wars expansions. And that was a lot of fun to play and get experience kind of mixing those up. And then, as people may have seen already moving forward, we're going to be going to a very different, unmixed top and bottom row, if you will, for second event.
yeah, we're going old school. We're going old school. We're going back in time. Um, but before we get to that, let's talk about the first event. Um, so let me switch so we can show. So here is. Well, let me go to the. This is the results. Can you guys see that? Um, this is the results of the 8 rounds of Swiss. The top 8 made it to um, the finals. We'll call it the final single elimination round. Vasta, it was interesting. He got a bye in the first round because we had an odd number, and then he ran the table.
Hmm.
Usually, I noticed this. We had an odd number, so that it has to give someone a bye, and it was giving buys to people kind of who were in the bottom half of the pack. But in round one, uh, there is no bottom half, so it just has to give one randomly, and he got it, and then he ended up running the table. So that was interesting. So he finished undefeated. Um, and then Alderin, Paul Solomon, Sweet Justice, JC Rufino, BMC Fluff, and were 7-1 or 7-0, and they advanced. And then we had a tiebreaker at 6-2, and Frosty and NGD um, got the tiebreaker and got the last 2 spots into the final 8. Um, we had quite a bunch of people at 6-2, so um,
Yeah.
yeah. And then in the finals, let me skip to the page. Here's the bracket for the finals. So we had Vasta and Sweet Justice, and Alderin and BMC Fluff in the final 4. Sweet Justice looks like barely beat Vasta. Can you guys see that? Is that small? Let me zoom in here. There we go. And BMC Fluff beat Alderin, and in the finals, which was best of 3, all these other games were just best of one game. Finals, it went 2-1, and BMC Fluff took it. So he is our first event winner and the current number 1 ranked SRPC player. BMC Fluff. His name is Benjamin Kosman, I think. I think he's on the Facebook group, the main Facebook group fan page, but not on the Pro Circuit Facebook group. So he wasn't there to
Hmm.
see everyone congratulate them.
I'm sure he feels pretty good.
Brian asked the question. Lots of people at 6-2, so lots of opinions on appropriate tiebreakers. Yeah, I've had some feedback on the tiebreak. So the tiebreak that I used, which was the default of challenge, so I just went with what was default. Um, and maybe I should have thought it through more, but this was my first Swiss event I've run. So you can see here, Frosty and NGD, this TB column, that was the first tiebreak, which was wins against tied players. So Frosty and NGD each had a win over one of the other 6-2 people that they were tied with. Um, and so that gave them the tie break. That got them and gave them the last two spots. Um, the feedback I've gotten is that with this many players, perhaps it is best to use. This is the second tie break I used, which was the, I don't even know how to pronounce it, Buckholz.
Hmm. Sure.
Um, th- that would have been better to use as the primary tiebreak rather than wins against tied opponents because, for example, all these other people, well, I guess two of these people, of these 6-2 people, lost to NGD and Frosty, but the rest never even got to play any of the other 6-2 people, so they didn't really have a chance to win a tiebreak.
Hmm.
Um, so the feedback is that we should use Buckholz first, and it's a valid suggestion, and that may be what I do for the next Swiss event. If we had used, they're saying that Casmo and Baby Girl got screwed, but just Casmo got screwed. If I'd used Buckholz as the um, first tiebreak, Frosty still would have gotten in because he had a 30, which was the highest among the 6-2 players. Then the second highest was Casmo or Baby Girl, so I guess one of those two would have gotten in um, over NGD. So anyway, that's something that I'm not. I think those are the only. And then the other tiebreak option is points difference, which doesn't make any sense for what we do here. You can see it's all the same for all the same ranked players. So I may next Swiss may switch to using Buckholz as the primary tiebreak, but I wasn't going to switch it halfway through. So
Right.
so anyway, that's what. Uh, Let me see if there's any other comments here from people. Tiebreaker should be based on number of trophy stars. That was, of course, from Alex.
Yeah. I don't know why he says that. He only has like 5 trophy stars.
Five. Uh, all right. So any other? So I guess we could look at the results. What is Buckholz? Oh, that's a good question. Buckholz is so it's basically a way to measure your strength of schedule, the strength of the opponents you played. So what it is, it adds up all the points of all the people you played against, subtracting the top and the bottom. And so the people who played better opponents will have a higher Buckholz score. So, for
And then,
example, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
I say looking
So
at looking at Frosty's number 30, that means that uh, you add up all the points, all the scores of all the people he played, take away the top and the bottom, and it adds up to 30. So his strength of schedule was higher than any of the other people that were tied with him. That's what that means. So he played harder opponents, is what it comes down to.
and it does. Some people forget that you drop the top and the bottom score. and that keeps the outliers
Right.
from having too much of an effect on the end result.
Right. And I think part of the reason for that is in the first round, you could play someone who ends up going 0 and 8, and you there's not much you could have done about that, you know.
Right.
So it takes that away. Um, Other than that, there's not there were a few surprises in the first event. But I mean, looking at the top 8, these are all good players. You know, there was
Right.
this player Daredevil. I think he was one of the last undefeateds. When we got down to like 4 or 8 undefeateds, he was one of them. I don't know Daredevil. I've never seen him in the tournament, but he seemed to do pretty well.
Yeah, it's I mean, we're playing arena and running into all these names we don't know, but then we see one kind of
Yeah,
come up. Like, I don't have too much experience with a Daredevil, and yet here they are
yeah,
finishing 12th overall after the first event. So I bet we'll remember them moving forward. Otherwise, it seems like kind of some usual suspects of people who you run into in BGG and other leagues and everything, finishing out towards the top. And then, of course, if everybody who is in scrolls through, you'll notice some pretty big names of players that also did not finish as high as you might expect, but. One event out of 10, still a lot of star rooms to be played.
yeah. Star Realms is so swingy that can happen. I've certainly had events when I tanked big time. But yeah, there were some top ranked players that were near the bottom. We won't name names, Adam, but I'm just kidding. Adam was actually in the middle of the pack. He wasn't way down there, um, yeah. Brian asked, "Was the pacing of the first event go as well as I hoped?" Um, it was fine. There was only one round where everyone was finished with their game by the deadline. Other than that, every round I had to put in some ties. Some rounds it was just like 1 or 2 games. The last round, there were quite a few, but
Hmm.
it was fine. Oh, and I guess I should say thanks to Alex for stepping in for 2 rounds while I was on vacation. He handled things for 2 rounds. So Alex says passing out ties was easy. Making sure they stuck was the fun part. Yeah, there was a challenge of people going in and it wasn't. I don't think nefarious, but people would go in after they finished their match after the deadline, would go in and change their tie back to what the result was, and so we have to go back in and change it back to a tie because that messes up the matchups for Swiss and it messes up the tie breaking scores. So we had to go back and change a few. But when I messaged people about that, they were all just didn't realize. So it was Swiss was a lot of work compared to I think like a single elimination, but it wasn't too bad as far as the pacing.
It seems to have, I mean, as a participant, it certainly seemed to click along, and there were obviously hangups as you would expect at certain times, but for the most part, for a first event of a brand new league, that seemed to go quite swimmingly for all the problems that could have happened and did not. Rock and roll.
Yeah, I thought it went well.
Yeah.
Brian says Steph missed a win because the game didn't finish until after the deadline. How many times did that happen to people? It happened a few times each round. Um, yeah. So I mean, if you scroll down, uh, look at the ties. So here's some people with ties. You can see the third number here in their records. There were a few near the bottom that had several ties. Some had like 6 ties, I think. 5 was the most. So 4 here. So yeah, there were quite a few people that got ties. 0 for ties was a good decision. Yeah, I think so. How many times did I award a win in an unfinished game? Like 3 out of the whole time. Um, and I was people, most of the time these games that weren't finished, no, I had no communication from any of the people, so um, I didn't know what was going on, so I just marked it a tie. I didn't know, but if there was a time when someone messaged me, you know, a day before the deadline and said this person's playing slow, they made effort to reach out to them, then I did give them the win. But it only happened like 3 times, so not a lot. So I don't know what else to say about the first event. Um, if there's any questions about the first event, we can go back to it. But otherwise, let's move on to the second event. So we've got a single elimination tournament starting probably tomorrow afternoon.
Bum bum bum.
Here, let me refresh this and see if we've got any more players. Nope, still at 133. So you may have noticed if you've gone in and looked at it. Here, let me go back to the website first and show you. We'll talk about the scoring for this event. So there is a participation bonus. Anyone who participates gets 30 points. We talked about that, the reasons for that at the last one, at the last episode, if you will. I had to add this round of 28 points here. When I first put this out, I started in a round of 64, but we're actually over 128 for this round. So we need to have someone. The people who are playing to get into the round of 28 gets points. There's just a few of them right now, anyway.
Hmm.
So we start at 15, and it basically doubles each round until you get to the finals. So the winner of this will get 1,300 points. To put that in perspective, the BMC Fluff, the number one ranked player, got 1,180 points from the Swiss. So you're got a good chunk of points here coming from this event for the winner. Those who start in the round of 128, which will be most players, do not get this 15 points just for starting in that round. It's you got to win a game to get some points. So I hope I've made that clear, so no one's getting upset when they lose in the first round, but they didn't get their round 128 points.
So to say it succinctly to make sure, you're saying that participation is also based on a victory in that round.
No, sorry.
Oh,
Participation
okay.
is for playing a game. If you join the event and play your game, you'll get 30 points. To get anything else beyond the participation, you have to win a game.
Got it. There we go.
And we talked about participation. The point of that is so that the people who played, even though if they lost the first round and got no points from a win, they're still ahead of someone who's joining for the first time at the next event. So it's some kind of way to stay ahead of people that are joining, or new players, I should say. Footnote number 2, right? That's what I was just talking about. No free points, just the participation. That's free. Looked like Nathan got those points. That's true. OZ Method Nathan, he dropped out after I think the third round of the Swiss. So he had no wins at that point. So all he got was the participation points from the first event. Anyway, so going back to the bracket here, let me go to. If you've looked at this, you will have seen I've added your Pro Circuit rankings. So there you go. BMC Fluff number 1, Sweet Justice number 2, Vasa number 3, and so on. And and seedings will be based on your rank, and that'll be throughout the whole season, except for one event. So let me go back to the bracket. So you can see here, anyone who has an R next to their name, like this one, Star Empire 8 versus Mo Power, R means they're a new player. They didn't participate in the first event. R is kind of like rookie. So those players are all ranked at the bottom. as new players. And let's see where Bax is in here. If it
I think I'm
stays,
like 40th,
you're
40th.
44. You're one of the many
Okay,
people tied at 44. I'm
there we
trying to
go.
see. So if it stays how it is, you will be matched up against God, You Are My All. Um,
Word. There it
and
is. Let me know.
I
Hanging
think,
out.
yeah, I am up against Wussy, which I could easily lose to him. So there will be a lot of upsets, I suspect, just because of the nature of Star Realms. It's not like
Yeah.
tennis, where the number one ranked player hardly ever loses until they get to the quarterfinals.
Right.
We'll see a lot of
Exactly.
upsets.
Yeah. Um, Imam asks the question, so how much in the long run would playing consistently help your standings? And I think Elizabeth had also mentioned that on the Facebook group. It would seem advantageous, but well, clearly it's advantageous to play consistently at 50 or above 50 to continue to like generate points. But it's worth noting, similar to, if I may, the SRP, winning one event really is worth so many points
Yes,
that at that point in time, your consistency can take a hit. Versus if you never win at all, consistency becomes crucial to getting you up into the top,
exactly. That's right.
if that makes sense.
It is. Well, look at this. Single elimination, first place is 1,300 points. Um, Getting to the semifinals is 480 points. So that's about almost three times as many
Right.
points from getting from the semifinals to winning it all. So
Right.
there's a big jump once you get into the top two spots in a tournament. Um, but if you consistently get to like the round of 8 every time, that will get you over 10 events. You know, well, it's really 8 events after we've done Swiss. That'll get you the equivalent of a win of a tournament. But
Right.
really, to get a. So here's what it's getting at: consistently playing. Um, Consistently playing in events, participating in events, uh, is the best way to increase your rank. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. I guess.
Right.
Um,
I mean, it's worth noting, you enter an event, you don't get negative points for something. Like, you only can gain points.
right.
And being in the event to try to take points away from other people who might get those points is usually a good idea. So, yeah, sign up as much as possible and do as well as possible. I think that's kind of like what any advice would really boil down to.
So let me. So English. So the comment is made. A win in the last 8 would be 240. That is actually not correct. Being in the top 8 gives you 240. So these are points you get for being in the round of 8. So if you're one of the final 8 people, you get at least 240. If you win in that round of 8, then you're in the round of 4 and you get at least 480 points. Right. Ian says that. Read the chart as advance to round of X. So if you are in the round of 8, you get this many points. If you are in the round of 4, which is the semifinals, you get 480 points. So most people will be starting in the round of 128. So if they win their first match, they will be in the round of 64. And if they lose their next match, they will get 30 points for being in the round of 64, plus the 30 points participation bonus. Um, does that make sense?
So I think yeah, rock
Okay.
and roll.
All right.
I think so.
Um, so we'll probably be starting tomorrow. I think we're all ready to go.
And this is the original all format, if you will.
The original all format. That's right.
The original all, going back to the top row, which is going to be
Will there be some salt?
My silence, I hope, denoted that there may or may not be some levels of frustration that will be experienced in a single elimination. But hearkening back for those people who, spend a lot of time with Top Row, may have a little bit of an advantage in knowing the cards to watch out for, and
Yeah.
knowing the setup at the beginning of the game. I think the biggest thing is the United gambits can be swingy, but more importantly, it's you need to be able to note what the setup looks like at the beginning of the game, like your two gambits versus their two gambits. What's the advantage and disadvantage for both players, and how do you have to play accordingly? And I think the players who identify that the best are probably going to have the best fortune.
Yep.
In the turn.
That's right. Ian says he's going to throw his phone for sure. When I was asking for suggestions of stats to track for the website, phones thrown was one of the suggestions. I wish there were a way to track that. Adam says footnote 2 should be updated based on larger draw. I don't see that. Adam, if you want to clarify. I'm assuming you mean this footnote. But I don't think it needs to be updated. But help me understand if...
Maybe he means 64 or 128 since we have more than 128?
But some people will still be starting in the round of 128. Here, I'll pull it up.
Right.
So here's the round of 128 right here.
Right. He says I didn't actually read it, so there's Adam for you.
Okay. All right. So I think we're good. So here's the round of 128. As you can see, most people are starting in the round of 128. There's just a few of the lower ranked people, which are all the rookies, new players. They will be playing a game to get into the round of 128. So if they win that game, they do get that 15 points for getting into the round of 28 because they won their way into it rather than being placed in there at the beginning, if that makes sense. All right, I'm trying to think if there's anything else to talk about for this first event.
To be clear, as far as like we're kind of talking about the longevity of the season. Looking at this event, let's say event 2 is done and we're going into event 3. The rankings that you've put together for everybody,
yes,
those will be cumulative, correct? Not based only on the previous event.
Correct. So
okay.
Right. Actually, let me pull up. I'll pull up my top secret spreadsheet.
Ooh. There we go.
I'm going to send everyone an NDA here pretty quick, so you guys have to sign it before you can look at this. All right, here we go. So there's everyone's Board Game Geek and Challenge IDs. All right, so here's the player rankings. So you can see that's kind of small. I don't know if I can zoom in here. Well, just trust me what I'm pointing to if you can't see it. So you can see here, this is BMC Fluff. He's the #1 ranked player. Total points is here. Event 1 points, event 2 points, and it will be cumulative over the previous 10 events. So now I've got a tab here for each event that pulls into this main page. So yes, it will be cumulative. So if someone wins, let me go back here. If someone, wait, where am I going? Player ranking. If someone wins this event, well, someone will win in this event. Whoever wins this event, say BMC Fluff loses in the first round, so all he gets is 30 points. Whoever wins this event will be ahead of him in the rankings, because their 130 will add to what they got before, and it'll be higher than what he has plus the participation. So it will be cumulative. So these numbers will keep going up and up and up until we've hit 10 events, and then it's possible that your points may go down as one event drops off and you add a new one.
So as an example, just to make that clear, BMC Fluff here, bunch of points, won the thing, awesome. Once we get into season 2 first event, that win drops and if they didn't in their last 9 events going into that event have any top win, they're going to significantly drop in the rankings. Is that
Correct.
yeah?
That's correct. Brian says it's cumulative but not based on season. That is correct. It is the previous 10 events. The one caveat to that is when we get to the season finals, um, say we're in season 2 and we're at the finals of that season. Um, we're only going to look at the 9 events of that season. We're not going to take into account the points you got from the previous season finals in determining who gets into the next season finals. And that's how tennis does it as well. They don't count the previous
Right.
season finals in determining who gets into the next season finals. So, as far as who the top 12 players are who get into the season finals, it will be based on that season. So, the 1 through 9 events of that season. So, that's the one time when I'll be looking at the previous 9 events, not the previous 10 events.
There we go.
All right. So many caveats and feet nuts. um, there was something I was going to say about that. I know I can't remember. Um, oh, someone asked what the RNG column was. Um, it's probably not going to be used at first. There were, after this first event, we have right here 10 people tied at rank 9. And putting them into this single elimination tournament, I had to rank them. I couldn't, they have to be seeded. So at first I was just going to do it random, and so that's what this RNG column was for. Just randomly rank the 9 people. But then I decided to rank them based on how they finished in the Swiss. So I used that Buchholz and other tiebreakers to seed people that were tied with the same rank. So I haven't actually used this RNG column for anything. So that's why that was there, someone asked.
Random isn't random. RNG conspiracy. You saw it here, ladies and gentlemen. You're gonna get those NDAs out anytime now.
Yeah, it's a trade secret that I just told everybody about. So if there's any other questions about this event coming tomorrow, just post it. We'll come back to it. But there are some developments or news since the last broadcast. One of the probably the biggest one is the Star Realms Pro Circuit has a sponsor. Let me go back to the Vaughn Reynolds, who's a Star Realms player. Backs plus Rick equals bricks.
Yikes.
Excuse me. So we have a sponsor, Vaughn Reynolds. He runs the I'm a Social Gamer network, and you've seen me add his logo to the commercial time. You see me add his logo to the website and the group. So what he's going to be doing is handling the prizes for all the events. I can't get into specifics on what those will be, but there will be White Wizard game prize support for the events. Plus, in Vaughn's words, he has something special for the winners of the 4 main events, which are the 3 Grand Slams and the finals. So there will be something beyond just White Wizard game prizes, White Wizard games supplied prizes for the winners of the for 3 Grand Slams in the final. So I can't say what those are yet, but
A new car.
it will be cool. It will be cool. I think. I hope.
That's
so
cool.
that's what Vaughn's going to be doing for the SRPC as our sponsor, and I appreciate him doing that. It's going to be. I think it'll add to it. I think it'll be good.
I think everybody also agrees that it too also will be excellent, and it's really
Good.
exciting. And the image, if I may say so myself, the banner looks super clean on the Facebook page. Very, very shiny. Very, very
Yeah,
shiny.
he put that together. He used the kind of the original design that Cranky Day came up with, and he kind of built upon it. And as even Cranky Day acknowledged, he made it better. It's pretty cool. I like it. And I put we had him we decided to put fan created here to make sure that this isn't like some official White Wizard Games Star Realms professional, you know, tournament here.
When I saw that go up and all those changes made to include the fan created aspect, I was just picturing in my head some poor soul coming across this and thinking that this was a super professional circuit of Star Realms players, which it is, mind you, but like some really like rubber stamped official professional circuit, like sponsored by Razer and T-Mobile or something. So that was, I don't know. I pictured somebody doing that, and thank you for making sure they don't think that. That's great.
Yes, or they win a tournament. And I start getting messages about where their money is, and um, yeah. So Ian asks how long I expect single elimination tournament to take. My hope is that each round will be 4 days. I'm not going to be, at least I hope I won't have to be as strict as I was with the Swiss. The Swiss, I mean, one game will hold up everyone, so you have to stay on a schedule. This one, if a game takes 5 days, well, then the next round could happen in one day. You can play ahead, you can catch up easily. So I've set the deadlines at 4 days, but if I message someone, so I probably will be reaching out to people when they get to 4 days and their game's not reported. But if they tell me, hey, we're playing, then I'll probably leave it. If they tell me that they haven't even sent the challenge yet, then I might, move on. But so if it does take 4 days per round, we've got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did I count that right? So that's about 3 weeks. And I looked at some of the Sunday casuals to kind of guesstimate how long this will take. And those have taken 3 to 4 weeks. So I'm guessing 3 to 4 weeks for this one to run its course. And if the question comes up, if you can play ahead, yeah, just play your games when the match is available. And can people play ahead? Oh, yeah. Alex just asked that. Can people play ahead? Yes, you can play ahead as the bracket advances.
So it operates like the single elimination is going to operate very similar to like a Sunday casual format for those who have participated in one of those.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you rock and roll with your gig, and as your matches come up, play them.
Yep, exactly the same.
And don't be slow-ish.
Don't be slow. Another change I've made to the league structure, I'll point this out. Let me go to this season schedule. I think it's here. So originally the season finals, the final game of the season, was a round robin that included the top 12 ranked players. The top 12 ranked players would be put into 2 groups of 6. They'd play a round robin. The top 2 from each group would go into semifinals, where they would play, and obviously till there's a winner. This was suggested by Cranky Day, and I thought it was a good idea. I've added, it's a 3-tiered final. So basically, those who are ranked 1 to 12 will be in the first tier finals. Those ranked 13 to 24, and then 25 to 36. So there's 3 groups of 12 players that will be put into a finals, and they'll all be playing separately. They won't like the winner of one won't play the winner of the other. They're just all playing their own finals. And then the points for that, let me go to the scoring page. So the points for the first tier is what I had before. 200 points per win, and then the top 4, there's points for getting second place, first place, and then some extra points if you go undefeated through everything. And then I just reduced that by I can't remember what the amount was I reduced it by, but each round is reduced um, by a little. It looks like it's about 60%, maybe. I don't know. Or by 40%. So in the tier 2, you get 125 points per win instead of the 200. And then in the tier 3, 75 points per win. So there's some opportunities for other people to get points in this season finals other than just the top 12 players. Um, so if you have complaints about that, send them to Cranky Day.
There you go.
But I thought it was a good idea. I like it. I'm still wondering. Well, I won't get into that. I don't want to get into other things I'm wondering, but this is set in stone. We're going to be doing this the first season. We'll see how it goes. Um, are you saying that it can be more beneficial to be in the third group and win it than be eliminated in the first round of the top one group? No. Well, there is no first round. It's round robin. So if you so there's two groups of 6 in this tier. So you're going to play 5 games against the other people in your group. So if you win, if you lose all the games in your round, then yeah, it's worse than you get less points than if you win the tier 3. But I don't think that's unreasonable. 2 wins in the group play of the top tier is equivalent to 1 win in the top group play is equivalent to winning the whole thing in the third tier. So that's yeah. Okay, Brian says he's. What is going on? All right, so Brian's Cranky Day was concerned with the points, but he was assured they are meaningless points. Well, they're not. They're meaningless when it comes to getting into the next year's finals, but they do count towards your rank. So I don't know if I'd say they're meaningless.
I mean,
But
and it's worth noting that if you are like assuming this scenario where you are in a top group or pod, if you will, and you lose against top players, the fact that you got there means you got more points in a previous event to get to that point. So even if you don't get as many points in that specific event, you've already accumulated probably more points or something similar than somebody in like a third tier pod who wins. I don't know if that makes sense or if I just made everything way more confusing.
no, that makes sense. I mean, at first it was just the finals for the people ranked 1 through 12, and the people ranked 13 through 36 got nothing. Now they're getting some points. There's a chance to kind of keep pace a little bit. So, all right. I'm trying to see. There were some topics that people brought up on the Facebook page when they asked that we possible discussion points, I guess you could say, for the pro circuit. One was from Paul Solomon on using double elimination versus single elimination in one or more events. It is something that I had considered. Can you guys hear it when my that beeping sound? Do you hear that when I get a message through Facebook? Or am I just don't want it to. My Facebook is just popping off right here. Okay, yeah, you can
I'm
hear
not
it.
hearing it, but
No,
maybe some.
sounds like
Yeah.
they can hear it.
Oh yeah. On the stream, yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
Okay, that's what I meant. Boy, can we? All right, let me close Facebook here. All right, where was I? So double elimination versus single elimination. I thought about that. It's really hard to come up with how the points should work for a double elimination. Like the overall, how we have it here for single elimination. It's clean and easy to figure out. As you win, you get more points. It's really hard to figure out. I've been trying to think of a good way to do it for double elimination, and I haven't come up with anything. I don't want to get too complicated, especially in the first season. I want to see how things go, so I'm not leaning towards adding a double elimination. But if people have ideas of how to make it work for scoring, I would hear it. Cranky Day says he has a solution to this issue. All right, let's hear it. Let's hear it. I will consider it. As you can see, I've taken a lot of people's suggestions. Um, I haven't taken everyone's suggestions, but a lot of people's suggestions. So if it's a good idea, I'll do it. Um, Ian says complicated is one of his middle names. Um, yes, although some people don't like complicated, we got to have a balance. You know, there were some people who I think the Swiss event was a little too much for them. If the second one had been a Swiss, they wouldn't have done it again. So you got to kind of balance, but we'll see. The other, I don't know. What do you think about that? I mean, as far as we do have the rest of the way until the finals is all basically single elimination tournaments. Is are you gonna get bored? Brian loves complicated. So anyway, it would be nice to change things up, but we'll see how this first season goes. Next backcast is all Avril Lavigne requests from Bry.
Oh, yikes. Uh-oh. Let's go turn off the song request feature real quick. There.
Ian says Swiss was great. It's regrettable that we're not having another one. It's not set in stone that we're not having another one. I would like to have another one, but it is a lot of work for me to do a Swiss compared to these other ones. So I just need to see. We'll just see how it goes. I am seriously considering. Let me go back to the season schedule. So we've got this top row tournament coming, then a Grand Slam, then a bottom row tournament, then a Grand Slam. I am considering this event 6 or event 8, which are each just a single elimination tournament, turning one of those into a Swiss. But like I said, I just got to see. I just got to see how things goes. I can't bite off more than I can chew. That's basically what it comes down to, because it is a lot of work to do a Swiss. So let me bet. I don't know what some of these people are talking about. I think they're talking about things.
Oh.
Table.
They are talking about a currency on the Backscast. The channel currency.
Oh, interesting.
I know, it's nuts. It's crazy. But Brian is a gambling fiend and lost everything. So I think that's.
Yeah, I see a lot of people speaking in favor of Swiss here, and like I said, I would prefer more Swiss as well. We'll just see how it goes. It was a lot for some players, but maybe 2 over the course of a season wouldn't be too much. So no promises, but it is possible we'll add another Swiss. We'll replace one of the single eliminations with a Swiss. So another discussion point that was brought up was from Elizabeth. I think we kind of talked about her question though about what's the long view for people who play consistently. How can
right?
So we've talked about that. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Someone else brought up Neil's lemma. Brought up the possibility of plugging other leagues into the pro circuit. I think what he meant was, take, for example, the winner of a Sunday Casual and give them points towards the pro circuit ranking, or take the entire results of the Sunday Casual, I guess, and use my point scoring method and add that to the pro circuit ranking. I don't know about that. This is a separate event. Those are separate events. If I want to add something to the Ian says that's part of his upcoming project. Interesting. That's quite the tease. some kind of
Wow.
universal ranking.
Holy.
Um, well, good luck.
Shit.
But if I want to add an event to the pro circuit, I'll just add another event. I don't need to bring in, you know, and it would. I don't know. We were talking offline. I think it would be presumptuous of me to, co-opt other people's events into mine. Like mine's so much better and more important than other people's. They're just a bunch of different events going on. They're all separate. So there, I don't really plan on doing that. But yeah, that's to answer his question though. Challenge has a two-stage tournament grouped into bracket. Have you thought about running one that way? Yeah, I've looked at that. The two-stage tournament will be what we use for the round robins, the finals, because the first stage is um, a group um, round robin, and then top two will advance to the single elimination. So that's what we'll be using for, like I said, the finals. I haven't looked at using um, that for anything else. I will look into that, but as of now, no, I'm not. Beyond the finals, I'm not going to use that feature from Challenge. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Um, any any other questions that I haven't answered? Let me scroll up real quick. Or any final thoughts from you, Bax?
I'm very excited for event number 2
Me too.
to hopefully increase from 50 to at least 51, maybe 52%. Who knows? We'll see.
Actually, let me show. I've started updating the individual player pages. I haven't gotten to all of them, but I'll show you guys what it looks like.
Ooh.
So here's BMC Fluff. You can see what it looks like. So rank 1, current point total. So these will reflect. So these are their career stats, or not career, yeah, career stats. So we'll be tracking their record over the current season, career. Um, you can see event titles. He has 1 event finals, 1 because he got into the finals, obviously. And then at the bottom of the page will be their history. How many points they got from each event and how they finished. Um, oh, sorry. I forgot to switch over. All right, here we go. Sorry, guys. Here's the page. So, this is BMC Fluff's page, who's currently ranked number 1. You can see the rank, point total, and then their stats after just one event. I will update these after each event. It takes a little bit of time to do that, so it'll take a few days. But eventually, everyone's players page will be updated. Here, do you want to look at yours? Or do you not want people to see it? I'll look at...
This is cool.
So here is Bax's. Here's his quote. I don't know if everyone saw it, but you can give me an image. I'll put in here on your page a quote, and then even a link to like a blog or a Twitch channel. So here's Bax's page. He's ranked 44, tied with like 30 people at rank 34 or 44. And then here's your stats. And then you can see it'll have a history down here. So event 1, Swiss, 430 points. So top 10 wins are against top 10 players at that time. Yes, that is correct. So when you play them, if they're in the top 10, you beat them, it will count as your record versus someone who was in the top 10 when you play them. Correct. Same with top 25. Clever Missy asks, when you say this to you, we Facebook message you. Uh, yeah, you can Facebook message me, or there was a post, an announcement I made about this. You can just respond to that announcement with what you want me to add, and I can add it to your page. Um, and then the league records page has been updated as well, so you can see. We'll keep track of career win percentage, season win percentage, win percentage versus top 10, all kinds of things. Um, what do we have? Event finals reached is this one here. So BMC Fluff and Sweet Justice are currently the only two people who've reached the event finals, but obviously as we play more events, these will get filled in with more people. So the player rankings and the league records page are pretty easy for me to update. They're mostly automated. So those will update pretty quickly after an event ends. It's just the individual player pages that will take me a few days to get those updated. At the end of the season, no, we're not going to be using the BCS model for selecting the top 12, Ian. That's a good. So this Cranky Day asks, and I think he's building off of what BCS Buck was asking. Doing a two-stage tournament, like almost like a World Cup, like those things that Quizmaster Erskine Thompson used to run. I have thought about that actually. Now that I think about it, that is possible. I haven't. Um, I'll just say I'm thinking about it. So we may have one of those. I am looking at ways to kind of add variety versus just having 8 single elimination tournaments in a row. But we'll see. I want to think it through before I commit to anything and make sure it's not going to get too crazy. But yeah, that's a good point. We may add one of those, a World Cup type dual stage tournament. All right. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's worth talking about. I don't see any other questions I've missed. Well, I think that's about it. Thanks, Bax, for making this Twitch stream interesting. To balance my monotone voice.
I think your tournament is what's doing the interest. We're all very excited for the second event tomorrow.
It's gonna be good.
Bated breath.
So good luck, everybody. If you have questions, let me know. If you want me to update your player page like I did with some of the other people, just message me or post on the group page or whatever, and I'll get it up there. Otherwise, we'll sign off until next time. It's Bax here.
It's back. Can always depend on Brian, man.
Ian says half of us won't be excited after tomorrow.
True.
Maybe. Yeah, that's how March Madness is. Anyway, all right, Sam. We'll probably, hopefully, do one of these again after the next event in a few weeks.
Sounds great.
And until then, so long, everybody.
See you later.
Starting tomorrow. Good luck, everybody.